There are quiet moments in life, often at the edge of night, when the world slows down, where silence doesn't feel so peaceful anymore. What once felt calm and comforting now feels dense, like the walls are gently pressing in. You sit in that old chair you've always loved, and instead of rest, your mind begins to stir. Thoughts drift in, small worries, memories that ache, visions of a future you can't quite grasp. And without realizing it, anxiety has quietly taken a seat beside you. But here's something we often forget. Anxiety isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's not proof of weakness, failure, or punishment. What if instead, it's a signal pointing towards something you've overlooked? In the Buddhist teachings, suffering, including this restless anxiety, is not an enemy to defeat, but a message to listen to. It's a guide, a quiet companion that leads us back to the heart of what matters most. We've been taught to hide our discomfort, to bury it, escape it, or drown it in noise. But Buddhism offers another way. It suggests that the very thing we try to avoid might be the key to our freedom. That anxiety, when met with understanding, becomes our teacher. Especially as we grow older and life becomes more still, we are given space to feel, to reflect, to truly see ourselves. And it's in this space that something sacred begins. Not a battle, but a deeper journey inward. So today, let's look at one gentle truth, an ancient insight from Buddhist wisdom. It won't make anxiety disappear, but it can change how we relate to it. This idea has helped monks in mountain temples, soldiers in moments of fear, and everyday people, just like you and me, find peace in the middle of their inner storms. Let's begin by turning toward it, not away, by sitting with it gently and seeing what it has to teach us. Lesson 1. The root of anxiety: attachment and aversion. Anxiety doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has roots, quiet, deep, and often unseen. In Buddhist wisdom, these roots have two names: attachment and aversion. These aren't just concepts, they're habits of the heart. As we go through life, especially as we grow older, these habits become more noticeable. Attachment is the part of the mind that clings tightly. It holds on to the things we love, our routines, the people close to us, our sense of control, and the comfort of the familiar. And when change comes, as it always does, these grasping turns into fear. A quiet voice says, "Please don't take this away." Then there's the other side, the urge to push away what we don't like. Pain, sickness, loneliness, even the natural process of aging. We try to resist these things, hoping that by pushing hard enough, we can keep them at a distance. But both holding on and pushing away are exhausting. And more than that, they don't work. The Buddha taught that anything that arises will also pass away. Everything changes: our bodies, our relationships, even the emotions we think will never end. It's our refusal to accept this truth that feeds anxiety. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, Tom, was a retired Navy veteran. Every morning at 6 a.m., he walked the lake trail near his home. It was part of his rhythm, his way of staying grounded. But after a hip injury, he had to stop. It wasn't just a routine he lost. It felt like he'd lost a part of who he was. His anxiety grew. Mornings became painful. The stillness reminded him of what he could no longer do. One day over tea, I asked him gently, "What are you holding on to?" He looked out the window and said quietly, "The version of me that could still move freely." This is what the Buddha meant. Our suffering doesn't come from the changes themselves, but from how tightly we hold on to the way things used to be. When we cling to the past or reject the present, anxiety finds space to grow. It whispers, "You're losing control." But here's the truth that can set us free. We never truly had control to begin with. Just like the lotus that rises from muddy water, peace can bloom from acceptance. We don't need to keep life exactly the same. We only need to open our hands to let go of the constant grasping and resisting and allow life to be what it is. You are not your habits. You are not your youth. You are not your past. And when you begin to soften your grip on how things should be, on what you think you must have, something shifts. The weight of anxiety starts to lift. As the Dhammapada says, from attachment springs grief. From attachment springs fear, but one who is free from attachment knows neither grief nor fear. So ask yourself gently, what would happen if today, even just a little, you unclench the fists of the mind? Maybe peace isn't in getting back what was lost, but in welcoming what is here now, too. There comes a moment in life, maybe during a quiet night or in the middle of a busy day, when a thought slips in without warning and settles heavy on the heart. Lesson 2. The thought that frees you. This too is just a thought. Sometimes a thought sneaks in, maybe quietly whispering, "Something's wrong," or loudly shouting, "What if this never gets better?" Without realizing, suddenly, you're not in the present anymore. You're swept away, trapped in a world made up of fear and tension spun by that thought. Yet the Buddha offered a gentle, powerful truth. This, too, is just a thought. Allow that to really settle within you. Not every thought is true, and not every thought deserves your trust. Some thoughts grow from old fears or patterns you've carried for years. Others are simply your mind trying to protect or prepare you. But a thought, even one that feels strong, is not a fact. It's just a cloud drifting through the sky of your mind. A wise monk once said, "Don't believe everything you think. Even the thoughts that seem urgent and convincing are often just ripples at the surface." When you watch your thoughts without grabbing onto them, something surprising begins to happen. Space, calm, and clarity arise. So much of anxiety begins with just a single thought, and that thought only grows when you treat it as truth, unquestioningly. A story of letting go. Let's consider Marlene, age 76, who began facing life alone after her husband passed away. She noticed anxious fears arising. What if I fall? What if I forget something important? What if I lose my memory? These weren't impossible, but they weren't happening. They were just thoughts, arriving with a rush of fear and restlessness. Marlene started mindfulness classes at her senior center. One day, the teacher asked the group to write down, "This thought is not me. It is just a thought." At first, it seemed silly, but Marlene tried it. Each time fear visited, she whispered the sentence, slowly, like a knot loosening. Over time, her anxiety started to soften. This is a core Buddhist practice known as non-identification, seeing thoughts as temporary movements in the mind, not the truth of who you are. Your thoughts are not you. They arise and pass, like wind through the trees. Some thoughts help, many don't, but not one of them defines your true self. The real practice is not to fight your anxious thoughts or criticize yourself for having them, but to notice, there you are, thought. I see you, but you aren't reality, and you don't control me. This may seem small, but it truly changes everything. You move from being lost in the storm to quietly standing beside it. As the great teacher Azang Chao said, if you let go a little, you'll have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you'll have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you'll be free. Next time anxiety rises, simply take a breath, soften your heart, and say gently, "This too is just a thought." No resistance, no panic, just a small moment of truth in the middle of the noise. Lesson 3. Mindfulness. Anchoring in the present moment. Anxiety often begins with subtle signals, a little unease while sipping tea, a tightening in the chest while folding clothes, a vague sense that something just isn't right. Even when there's no obvious cause, for many, especially older adults living alone or with quieter routines, this gentle anxiety can slip in like a cold draft beneath the door. It isn't loud, but it lingers, wandering the mind away from the peace of the present into the shadows of past regrets or future worries. But there is a way back: mindfulness. In Buddhist tradition, mindfulness offers a compassionate path back to the present, to our bodies, our breath, and the only place where genuine peace exists. right here, right now. Mindfulness isn't about clearing your mind or forcing yourself into stillness. Instead, it's about noticing, gently and lovingly, the sensations within your body, the rhythm of your breath, and the ebb and flow of your thoughts. It's about being where your feet are, rather than getting lost in memories of the past or worries about the future. As the Buddha taught, do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. This teaching speaks directly to the roots of anxiety. Anxiety always tries to tug us forward toward imagined futures, toward fear of what might come. But the present moment asks nothing of us but to show up and simply be here. A story of mindfulness. Frank's garden. Consider Frank, an elderly retired carpenter, gentle and quiet. After his wife died, the silence in his house became overwhelming. Small worries grew into spirals. What if I forget something? What if I fall and no one is here? What if I become a burden to my children? These thoughts took root in the long, lonely hours. Frank chose to practice mindfulness, just 5 minutes a day, sitting in his garden, hands resting on his knees, eyes soft, breath steady. He didn't attempt to empty his mind. Instead, he watched his thoughts drift by, like clouds in the sky. Gradually, those clouds grew lighter. His worries didn't vanish, but they lost their grip. This is the essence of mindfulness. It doesn't promise to remove all challenges, but it does teach us to sit with them instead of recoiling in fear. We realize we are not the storm, we are the sky that holds it. Mindfulness is endlessly forgiving. If you drift into thought, that's okay. The moment you notice, you've already returned to the present. That noticing is the practice. That return is the victory. If anxiety visits you during quiet moments, respond with gentleness. Offer no resistance. Instead, offer your breath. Ground yourself in what is tangible, the feeling of your feet on the floor, the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of your breath. This isn't denial or escape. It's a sacred act of coming home to yourself. As Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh so beautifully reminds us, feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. Try it now. Take a deep breath. Feel it pass through your nose. Feel your chest rise. As you exhale, gently say to yourself, I am here, and here is enough. Lesson 4: Compassion, the kindness that softens anxiety. Alongside anxiety, there's often a voice that isn't from the world outside, but from within. The inner critic. It whispers, why are you like this? You should be stronger. You're a burden. Over time, this voice can wear down the spirit, not only with fear, but with shame. Buddhist teachings offer a gentle yet profound remedy for this pain. Compassion, and not just for others, but especially for yourself. Many older adults grew up when emotional needs were overlooked, and resilience was equated with hiding pain. You cared for others, children, partners, parents, while quietly ignoring your own needs. Now, as life grows quieter, all those suppressed feelings, anxiety, regret, guilt, may begin to surface. But here lies the wisdom of Buddhism. You are worthy of the same care, tenderness, and support you have given others. Self-compassion softens anxiety. When anxiety or inner criticism arises, greet it, as you would a frightened child, with understanding and warmth. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are human. And with each act of mindfulness and self-kindness, you create space for peace and healing, right here. Peace isn't found in the pursuit of perfection. It arises through tenderness. As the Buddha taught, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. These are not indulgent words, but a vital lifeline for those feeling lost in anxiety. Consider Ruth, a 79-year-old woman who devoted her life to caring for others, a nurse by profession, a mother by nature. Ruth was always the strong one, the dependable pillar. Yet after retirement and the loss of her sister, she began feeling waves of anxiety. Ashamed, she wondered, why now? I've always kept it together. During a mindfulness retreat, a Buddhist teacher guided everyone to place their hands on their hearts and silently repeat, "May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I accept myself just as I am." At first, Ruth couldn't bring herself to do it. Her chest tightened, tears welled. It felt foreign, almost selfish, but her teacher gently explained, "Self-compassion isn't ego. It's softening, not turning away from your own pain." That moment marked the start of Ruth's healing. Not because her anxiety vanished, but because she stopped fighting it alone. She began writing letters to herself, forgiving the parts that were too tired, too overwhelmed, or too hurt. Slowly, she started to feel whole again. In Buddhist tradition, compassion is medicine for the heart, and like medicine, it must be taken regularly, especially in times of suffering. Gentle ways to practice self-compassion. Speak kindly to yourself, especially when anxious or afraid. Replace "what's wrong with me" with "this is hard, and I'm doing the best I can." Place your hand on your heart during tough moments. This act of care reminds you, you are not alone. Offer yourself the same grace you'd give a dear friend. If you wouldn't say it to them, don't say it to yourself. Acknowledge your efforts. You've survived much. You're still growing. That matters. Compassion doesn't magically solve everything, but it transforms how you move through life. It turns anxiety from a prison into a path walking beside your pain, not fighting against. As Thich Nhat Hanh wisely said, when you love someone, the best thing you can offer is your presence. How can you love if you are not there? The same is true for ourselves. If we aren't present for our own pain, who will be? So next time anxiety visits, meet it with kindness. Offer it a cup of tea. Sit with it. Ask what it needs. Not to fix it, but to gently hold it, like a frightened child in the dark. Sometimes all our inner world needs is to know that someone is still listening. The thought that destroys anxiety. This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. Quiet moments can feel suffocating when anxiety wraps itself so tightly that we mistake its signals for our identity. Racing heartbeats, restless thoughts. They start to feel like who we are, not something we simply experience. In these moments, it's all too easy to say, "I am anxious," instead of recognizing anxiety as a passing wave, not the ocean of our being. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha shared a liberating teaching, a simple yet powerful thought that can dissolve anxiety's grip, the way sunlight lifts the fog. This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. This isn't denial, it's liberation. It doesn't resist anxiety. It reminds you that you are not your anxious feelings or thoughts. They arise, and they pass. You remain the vast, calm ocean, while the waves come and go. Whenever you find yourself gripped by anxiety, try repeating softly, "This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am." Let this gentle phrase loosen worry's hold, and remember, compassion, not critique, is what brings you home to peace. The liberating thought, "This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am." Instead of clinging tightly to suffering, this liberating thought gently releases the false belief that we are our pain. The Buddha's teaching on non-self, shared in the Anatta-lakkhana Sutta, reminds us that we are not merely the thoughts, feelings, or sensations that pass through us. Just as the sky is not the storm, you are not your anxiety. When fear is mistaken for identity, it grows stronger, but when you remind yourself, "This is not me," you reconnect with your deeper nature, vast, peaceful, and unbound. Walter's story, finding freedom through non-identification. Take Walter, an 82-year-old widower who struggled with anxiety after his wife's passing. He described a recurring ache in his chest and an unplaceable sense of dread. At times it felt as if he was disappearing into the fear. In a local mindfulness group, the instructor led a meditation based on the Buddha's non-identification teaching. Together they repeated, "This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am." As Walter rested his hand on his heart and quietly repeated these words, the tension in his chest softened just a little. With practice, whenever anxiety resurfaced, Walter didn't fight or submit. He recognized it, breathed deeply, and reminded himself, "This too shall pass. This is not who I am." The storm's grip weakened, and a quiet space emerged within. The beauty of this teaching isn't that it makes anxiety vanish, but that it offers freedom within anxiety itself. The Buddha never promised a life without fear or sorrow. His wisdom reveals how to stop suffering unnecessarily because of them. Lesson 5: Breaking down the liberating thought. This is not mine. Don't claim ownership of anxiety. It is not yours to defend or cling to. It simply arises, just a wave on your ocean. This is not me. You are not defined by emotions. You are the observer, not the turbulence. You are not broken. You're the awareness behind every passing feeling. This is not who I am. Fear, anxiety, or loss do not shape your true identity. Beneath everything remains your true nature, compassionate, steady, and whole. The next time anxiety comes, quietly say, "This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am." You may find that while the feeling lingers, its power to define you fades. You move from being caught inside the storm to becoming the vast sky that holds it. As Thich Nhat Hanh taught, feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. Let this thought be your beacon, a compass when you feel lost, a light in the fog. As we grow older, with new uncertainties and inevitable goodbyes, this practice becomes not just helpful, but essential. It does not deny anxiety. Rather, it reminds you that you are so much more than any emotion. Your essence remains peaceful and eternal, untouched by any passing storm. You are never your anxiety. You are the calm that remains when the wave passes. You are the sky holding every cloud. And through it all, you are still here. Lesson 6: A guided practice, bringing the teaching into daily life. Hearing a teaching that touches your heart is like a cool breeze after stifling heat, but real transformation happens when you bring this wisdom into daily living. The Buddha's insights are meant to be lived right here, right now, in messy kitchens with ringing phones, aching joints, and trembling hearts. This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. This phrase is not just for meditation. It's a lifeline whenever anxiety appears in any ordinary moment. Use it as an anchor to return to yourself again and again until peace becomes your steady companion, no matter the weather outside or within. Guided practice, applying the teaching in daily life. This teaching isn't just for sacred spaces or spiritual readings. It's meant to be woven into the fabric of your everyday existence. Here's a simple, yet powerful practice you can begin right now. Begin where you are. Find a quiet space. Sit comfortably or stand with your feet planted firmly on the ground. Let your body be as it is, no need to force or change anything. Breathe and ground. Take a slow, gentle breath in, then exhale softly. Allow your breath to feel like a soft, calming hand grounding you in the present. Notice your anxiety. Bring to mind something that's been causing you worry, whether it's a small nagging thought or something larger, like a choice, regret, or uncomfortable conversation. Hold this feeling gently, as if you were cradling a small stone in your palm. Do not judge, just observe. Name the reality, silently or aloud. Repeat this phrase in 3 parts. This is not mine. Pause, let this settle. This is not me. Pause and notice space opening up between you and your emotion. This is not who I am. Breathe with each statement. Each time you say these words, feel the hold of anxiety loosen, even if it's just a little. You're not trying to reject the emotion, only to see it for what it is, a visitor, not the owner of your house. Visualize your breath. Imagine your breath as a breeze moving through an open house. It moves through your worries, gently clearing the air, not pushing anything out, just creating space. The house, yourself, remains strong and steady. The worry may stay for a while, but it does not live there and does not have the keys. Bringing the practice into everyday life. You don't need to be in a quiet room, on a meditation cushion, or at a retreat to find your center. You need this practice in the middle of ordinary days and restless nights, at 3:00 a.m. when anxiety keeps you awake. When a loved one hasn't called and self-doubt creeps in. When aches and pains remind you that time is passing and not everything is in your control. In these moments, don't aim for perfection. Simply reach for presence. Breathe in, this is not mine. Breathe out, this is not me. Breathe again, this is not who I am. Then gently return to what's before you. Whether it's washing dishes, folding clothes, petting your dog, or listening to the wind outside your window. The practice is not something separate from life. It becomes your way of moving through it. What's beautiful is that the more you do this, the more your nervous system learns you are safe now. You're not stuck in the past or overwhelmed by the future. You are here breathing, alive and whole. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "The present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it." This simple phrase, "This is not mine, this is not me, this is not who I am," becomes a bridge that leads you back to joy, reminding you that your true self has never been broken by fear. So the next time anxiety arises, don't run from it or push it away. Welcome it as a visitor you no longer fear. This is the quiet, gentle way back to yourself. Closing reflection, coming home to yourself. As we come to the end of this journey together, I invite you just for a moment to offer your anxiety a seat beside you, meet its gaze, and tenderly remind both yourself and the feeling, this is not who I am. The truth is, your deepest self is not the storm, but the stillness beneath it. Not the noise, but the spaciousness within it. And above all, you are love, always love, holding everything together. If you've listened, reflected, and allowed your heart to open, even just a bit, let that be enough. What you've heard here is not just a teaching, but a doorway, a gentle hand guiding you to remember that anxiety is not a flaw, nor a sign of your inadequacy. It is in many ways something sacred, a call to look deeper, let go of what was never yours to carry, and come home to yourself. The Buddha did not promise a life without storms, but he offered something greater, the tools to remain steady amid any weather. One of the most transformative tools is this simple, liberating thought. This is not mine, this is not me, this is not who I am. Repeat it as needed, when silence feels heavy, when the night lingers long, or when worry tangles your breath. Say it softly, with kindness, not as resistance, but as a healing touch. And perhaps as you return to this practice, you'll discover anxiety not as an enemy, but as a teacher, not something to fear or escape, but something that reveals your strength, your resilience, and your remarkable ability to return again and again to peace. So I leave you with a gentle question. What might your life become if you stopped holding on to what no longer serves you, and instead began listening to what brings you home? If these reflections have spoken to your heart, I welcome you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice, your story, may just be the light someone else needs tonight. And if you long for more gentle wisdom, rooted in Buddhist teachings, spoken straight to the soul, please subscribe to our channel. You'll always have a home here. Until next time, breathe deeply, walk gently, and remember the one you truly are has never been broken, only waiting to be remembered.